to walk you through how I gained 15 pounds of muscle in 15 months without necessarily excessively bulking, and what I think you should focus on to produce the same amount of results for yourself. It starts with the previous video I made where I talk about how I gained muscle mass. Without bulking, you don't need to bulk, all right? A lot of people comment, man, it's not how it works, you need to bulk, blah, blah, blah. Let me rephrase this argument in a more accurate way. People pointed out some good points I'm going to acknowledge here, all right? I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. Specifically, a comment on that video, KDuffin33 says, got to disagree a little bit on this one. I don't know why I started doing different accents. I think it's pretty clear you did a bulk, aka we're in a calorie surplus in order to go from your 185 pound physique to now. So for anybody who hasn't watched that video, I talk about how I went from 185 pounds 15 months ago to, 210, 215. Couple, right now, roughly, last week, around this time. And he says, looks like you managed to not gain a ton of fat during that period of time. So I would classify it as a lean bulk, aka surplus of 300 to 500 calories per day, I'm assuming. I never track calories or macros. Goes on to say how believing the main gaining hype is hurtful to a lot of new lifters because it holds you back from making significant gains long term, blah, blah, blah. Good, nuanced comment. Accurate. I agree with the majority of it. KDuffin33, appreciate your time. So what I'll say is that based on my personal experience, which I'm using as a reference point for my arguments, and this previous video and what I'm going to touch on in this video is that I believe you can gain significant muscle mass without doing an excessive bulk, okay? And what I'm doing, I think, to represent that experience accurately, I would say I did a lean bulk. Not necessarily on purpose would be the small caveat. I wasn't necessarily trying to bulk, I just became a little bit undisciplined with my diet and was eating junk food. That's why I'm kind of the position that I still don't necessarily believe that those extra calories led to the muscle gain, but I can't prove that. And I think an overall fair and accurate position to take would be to say I did a lean bulk to gain this mass. And now let's break down exactly how much muscle versus fat we think I gained. Okay, so I stepped on the scale today, and this footage is from today, earlier today, a few freaking hours ago at 1 p.m. I was exactly 210 pounds without shoes on, just wearing a freaking sleeveless shirt and some shorts, all right? The previous footage, 15 months ago, end of May 2023, I was in the 180s range. I didn't obsess over weighing myself. I don't know exactly what I weighed in this footage, but I know I was less than 190 and I was more than 179. And I'm pretty sure I'm actually quite lean here for what I've been over my lifting career or trajectory, that I'm probably actually less than 185. But I don't know exactly because I didn't weigh myself that day. So let's just say 185. So I went from 185 till now today, exactly 210. So it's 25 pounds. Look at the comparison. What do we think? I think a safe estimate is that I gained 15 pounds of muscle and 10 pounds of fat. Maybe I'm wrong. You can comment below if I'm misrepresenting the fat versus muscle gain. But I think I'm still relatively lean. Clearly I've gained a little bit more fat, but let's say 15 pounds of muscle gain in those 15 months. I think that's a safe, fair, representative estimate of the body composition change. That means that I gained 1 pound a month over this 15-month span. On average, an additional pound of muscle per month. So, what are the things I did differently? Because this is not newbie gains. I started working out when I was 18. If you're not familiar, trained for a while, ran into some injuries, came back. Now I only train arms and legs. I've been doing that for the last 4 years, okay? So these aren't newbie gains. My previous physique where I was at 185 was potentially tapped out, I thought, until I made some changes and did these additional things. And over the past 15 months, gained 15 pounds of muscle, to be disputed potentially in the comments, but that's what I'm riding with here. I think it's a safe estimate. So I got 5 things here that I think led to the growth that don't have to do with bulking. During this time, let's classify me as being in a lean bulk, but excessive bulking or gaining a ton of fat to put on this mass was not my mindset and not what I did. So let's talk about the other factors which I think are more useful that you should focus on, okay? The first thing is maniac intensity. The This is a bit loose and arbitrary, but what I mean by this is that prior in my training journey, I didn't approach my workouts and my sets with murderous intent, with rabid vengeance, with a loose pit bull, with rabies type of attitude. Jesus Christ, man, they let you in gyms. Like, what are you doing in there? Foaming at the mouth. Let me get another set, brother. You done with the dumbbell? I've had to change gyms a lot over this time period, okay? Usually about a week or two before they kick my ass out of there. Nah, I mean, you mind your own business still, but you plug the tunes in. I don't have a smartphone to look at to begin with. I use a freaking MP3 player, and I'm locked in. I'm a nice guy during my warm-up, my mobility, but once it's game time and I'm doing my working sets, do not talk to me, because I am on a mission. And I think this is the number one thing that people who don't see the progress that they want lack. I think it's really as simple as that. The majority of lifters that have solid physiques and continue to make gains show up all the time and train extremely hard. So if you can't find a way to do that, then you're kind of wasting your time, I think. And whether you're arguing about whether you need to bulk or not, I don't think matters as much if you don't go in there and push your limits. And the reason this is the number one thing I'm saying is because I go to the gym all the time. Different countries, different places. I've worked in gyms. I've seen a lot of the sample size of what the typical lifters are doing. And now, once in a while, from time to time, there's some real motherfuckers who are pushing their limits. And I respect the shit out of that. And those people always see good progress. But the majority of people do not do that. And that is the primary thing that I did differently, was to find a way to level that up even further and to get even more obsessive about it and to attack my workouts with just, I don't know if I just have pent up anger, aggression, whatever, but I was able to channel additional motivation, trying to push my limits, trying to push myself physically as hard as I can. Maybe it's cathartic, maybe it's therapeutic, I don't know. You gotta find your own pathway regardless. You gotta end up at the same destination where you find a way to push yourself always, regardless of how you feel, what's going on in your life. You feel tired, sick, somebody broke up with you, it doesn't matter. You come in there and you attack the weight. So, it's simple, that's the thing. Number 2, increasing the weight that I'm doing using a faster tempo. So over this 15-month period, I started to use a faster explosive tempo and focus on progressive overload, increasing the amount of reps that I can do with a given weight. And then once those reps get up to about 15, I would up the weight, let the reps drop back down, and then continue to chase additional reps each workout. And this, I believe, led to a significant amount of my progress, which I didn't necessarily channel a lot of my energy into previously. The fast explosive tempo in particular seemed to allow me to up the weight at a faster rate than I ever previously have. Point 3 is to increase the work output. And this ties into point 2. I experimented by using a really low number of sets, 2 to 3 sets, with extended rest times, 3 to 5 minutes, where I put all of my energy into being able to do more weight for more reps. And I got the triceps behind the head dumbbell extension to a peak output single set of 118.5 pound dumbbell for 14 reps. For the bicep curls, the 135 pound easy bar curl for 11 reps. But what I noticed through this experience was that sacrificing the volume for a higher single set output was not actually as productive in terms of muscle growth. Although in terms of strength growth, it was probably the most productive structure. Longer rest times, fewer number of sets, chase higher weight and higher reps within those sets. What I've seen to be more productive in terms of muscle growth is to not sacrifice volume. And this is the work output, which would be, stick with me here, the number of reps times the weight times the sets. Total work output. Increase that amount, I think, is more highly correlated with muscle growth than just increasing the amount of weight and reps you could do within one individual set. That's what I've seen. So focusing on keeping the volume to at least 5 sets per working muscle, up to potentially 15 is my rough recommendation. I think you should keep the volume there and still try to progress the weight that you can do. And what you should think about is the amount of work I do in an individual workout. How much weight did I move total through the whole workout, not just in one individual set or a couple individual sets. Through my experimentation doing both, I saw that to significantly be more productive in producing muscle growth. The fourth thing would be to use longer rest times and supersets, which I've already talked about. So for anybody who's new to the channel, what I like to do is hit the triceps first. All out, blitzkrieg, to the max, rest, 2 to 5 minutes. Same thing for biceps, rest, 2 to 5 minutes. That's one round of the superset, and we repeat that a number of times. And using this longer rest time allows you to achieve a higher workout output, which I mentioned previously, because the fatigue from one set doesn't necessarily cascade into the next set and the next set and the next set as significantly when you allow your body more time to recover. Basically, you're slowing down and you're spreading the work out so you can get more quality reps. Longer rest time is useful for that. And the last point, number 5, would be the novelty stimulus. And this is a tough thing to break out of the pattern of seeking the best way to do something. So, the concept that I want you to potentially absorb into your mind is the marrying of structure with chaos. So the first few points there are, I'm pointing at structures. Superset with extended rest times. Tracking the weight, the reps, doing X amount of volume. These are structures that you follow, you stick to, where there's a connotation, annotation, whatever the word is, with it that this is going to lead to more muscle gain. All right, you need to be able to hold that in one hand for the first half of your workout, let's say. This is what I do. And then the second hand go, I'm just going to do random shit. And the combination of these two things I've seen to be most effective. I don't know why exactly. I don't have some scientific study or scientific friggin' explanation to give you for that. I'm just saying based on my experience, what I've been doing and what results I've observed my body produce. Doing something different every time can be difficult to do because when you do something that seems to be a good workout, felt good, potentially leading to more growth, you're like, the temptation is to stick with it and just keep doing it over and over again. But the problem is then you end up in a plateau. This is what's happened to me over and over. What's happened to anybody who's consistent with lifting. Eventually your body adapts to what you're doing. And just trying to progress the weight and the reps is not significant. It's not adequate enough to continue to carve out gains, especially as you get more advanced. So always doing something different in your workouts. In the second half, I think is the best way to structure it. So I'm going to vary my rest times. I know I said use longer rest times. I think you should do that in the beginning. And then in the end, you could use shorter rest times. Change the amount of sets you do. Change the tempo, slow tempo, fast tempo. Drop sets, straight sets. Something different every single time. I'm going to do 6 sets of this exact same exercise. You know, well, just because we're talking about arms. I'm going to do tricep cable pushdowns with cable curls. All right, and I'm going to do 20 reps, 20 plus reps with a lighter weight and a fast tempo. And I'm just going to rest 30 seconds in between, back and forth, boom, 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 boom. And then the next time, a couple days later, when we come back to hit your arms, the second half of the workout, you're going to do something different. You're going to use a 2-minute rest window, and you're going to do super slow eccentric with 2 different new exercises. And then every single time, just get creative. You could do pyramid sets, you could do a bunch of drop sets. I don't know, there's always things you can change. And I know that's probably not going to be a popular take because everybody wants the exact right way to do stuff. And a lot of the content that you're probably consuming because you're interested in lifting and you're listening to me, you know, maybe you're asking yourself, God knows why I chose to click on this freaking goof's channel. But it's all under the premise that there is a way to do it. There is a way to structure your workout, which implies that there are ways to not structure your workout. And what I'm proposing to you is that to take advantage of the novelty stimulus or the variety stimulus of just doing something different, which over many, many years of experimentation, I've seen to be very beneficial. I did not want to accept this conclusion and this finding right away because it goes against your human nature to want to find comfort in knowing that there is a way to do something. Freeing yourself from that and allowing for the room to accept that maybe there isn't a single best way to do something. And maybe there's more value in utilizing variety and that a bunch of different ways of doing something is better. Most people are going to prescribe to you that this is the way to do it. I've criticized Dr. Mike before saying that he's promoting a slow eccentric. And, you know, he acknowledges the tempo science discussion. I've seen the videos, I know. But at the end of the day, that's his personal position, is that a slow eccentric is better. And that's what he's promoting. And I would say, as to play devil's advocate, that why not use multiple different tempos? Maybe they're all beneficial, and the benefits of using a slow eccentric potentially diminish over time because your body adapts to it and you minimize out the novelty stimulus or the benefit from variety, which I've seen to be extremely beneficial. And if you're a motherfucker that likes to think all the time, you're trying to find the best way to do something. And this was difficult for me to accept, but eventually I could not deny it any longer because the results were in my face that every single time I tried something new, whether it was better or worse, optimal or suboptimal, just the fact that I did something new and different most of the time was beneficial. And a component, even if I switched to something that was better, let's say switching to longer rest times, a component of that benefit is that, potentially that strategy, as opposed to shorter rest times, is fundamentally better on average most of the time across the board. But some of that benefit that I'm picking up on initially is just because it's new. And separating these things out and determining which things are actually potentially fundamentally superior than the opposite, and which things are just producing a better result because you're switching it up, you're doing something different, and it's creating this novelty stimulus that produces more muscle growth, is a difficult place to get to. And it's also a potentially humbling, ego slicing up point of reference to get to, where you realize, shit, man, maybe I don't have so much of a method to hang my hat on and say this is the exact way to do things. And maybe I know some stuff that I think is superior, but maybe it's just chaos works well too. And I can't put my name on that, as that's my methodology necessarily. What are you gonna say? Oh yeah, just do random shit. There's this new guy, man, he's so smart and he references science and he knows the way to do this and he just says do random shit. Doesn't really matter what it is as long as it's something new. It's a tough sell. So nobody wants to do that, but I'm giving you the truth, man. I think from what I've seen, experience-based lifting, right, is the niche that I'm in. I'm just giving you my experience. I experiment on myself and I share my results of what I've seen. That's what I've seen to be extremely beneficial. So for the sake of not rambling any longer and making you listen to my freaking wacky takes, I'm gonna end the video here. Those are the things that I've done to build additional muscle, 15 pounds of muscle in 15 months. Leave a comment if you think that that's an over or underestimate. Thanks for watching. I like it when you guys provide thoughtful questions and feedback, even if it's kind of like this one. It's like, yeah, I think you kind of misstepped here, but I'm happy. If it makes sense and I think I can create value pivoting off of it, then I'm happy to highlight it and continue the discussion to help you continue to make more gains as I continue to share my experience experimenting on myself in pursuit, I'm losing it, in pursuit of the holy, glorious gains myself. If you want to do any of my workouts, arm workouts, I record and upload all of them onto my website and onto my Only Arms. So if you want to train exactly like me, if you want to follow day by day the routines I do, then subscribe to one of those sources so you can get plugged in, tuned in, and start training like me so you can get some absolutely freaking massive pipe daddies. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Love you. Appreciate you. Peace.